church family, guests and visitors. Again, welcome to Wednesday night online Bible study. So glad that you've taken the time to join us and be with us. And I want to get right into our lesson tonight. I was reading a story recently in my daily devotions, and this was by an unnamed pastor. I don't know who wrote this portion of the story, but I thought it was so poignant to some of the things that you and I deal with, and certainly even I have been guilty of myself. And he was talking about his experience, so we've all been there. We know and we understand what this is like. And he was in a particular city in Colorado, and he was getting ready to preach at a friend's church, and he was there for the weekend. And he said, I was out on this beautiful Saturday morning in Colorado. He said, and I was sitting at a red light waiting for the light to change. He said, as I was sitting there, he goes on to say, I was very immediately kind of seized in my attention, because he says an unmuffled Harley-Davidson motorcycle pulled alongside the car that I was driving at that time. He said, I slowly turned to look at the rider hanging on his chopper like a baboon in a tree, with the long handlebars and his hands seemingly higher than his head. And I easily sized him up in an instant. Long, blonde, greasy hair, tied in a ponytail, sweaty red bandana headband, long Fu Manchu mustache, offensive tattoos etched on every square inch of his neck and arms, and an undeniable fury swirling about his head like wasps around an agitated nest. He thought to himself, now there's a biker. And then he thought, I better give him a wide berth, plenty of room to get around my vehicle. I don't want to start anything. And I think one of the things about the story that instantly grabbed me is I've had situations like that where I thought, yeah, that's no wannabe biker, but that's a real biker. You just look and you see the motorcycle, the tattoos, the clothing, the hair, and the whole persona about this individual. And so you immediately say, yep, that's a real biker. Well, he goes on to say, as he was sitting at this red light, he looked in the other direction. The light hadn't changed yet, so he looked over, and at that moment, he saw a gentleman walking out of the First National Bank that happened to be on the corner where he was at, carrying an expensive leather attaché case and walking briskly toward a brand new Cadillac SUV. His clothing was very nice. His suit was finely pressed and looked to be tailored. He was definitely what you would call a king of all that he surveyed. My first and initial thought there was, now there's a banker. And he said, I just automatically came to the conclusion, looking at him once again, yep, he has got to be a banker. And then, of course, as a pastor himself, he thought it sure would be nice to have a guy like that who was interested in and listening to my ministry. So once again, he formed his opinion, and I can't deny that I have not been in very similar situations, and if not a banker, definitely thought to myself, there's somebody who's very, very professional, because not only the way they're dressed, the accessories that they have, but even the way that they carry themselves, it is definitely different, and it's definitely pretty telltale, if you will, of who and what they are, or at least we think that. He says, once again, the light had not yet changed, so he risked one more guarded glance just to kind of look in the direction of the biker. He was wanting to just see what was going on and see if he was everything that he thought he was. He said, in doing so, my eyes got caught by a ruffled old man staggering out of a thick hedge of shrubs bordering the city park. He had spent the night burrowed in the bushes, and he thinks, at least in his opinion, that the loud motorcycle is what woke him up. He was days unshaven, weeks unshowered, and what appeared to be years unsure. brushing the leaves out of his matted hair and squinting so as to ease the flood of sunshine into his bloodshot eyes, the homeless man stumbled into yet another meaningless day with complete and total indifference. He went on to think to himself, and now there is a bum if I ever saw one. He even said, what a waste. He says at that point it hit me. That almost sounds like an interesting little storyline, possible joke, possible beginning to a joke. A biker, a banker, and a bum all walked to a corner. He said, granted, they weren't all walking and they weren't all on the corner. He said, but sitting on the corner where I was, it definitely fit. The unintended symmetry in his spur-of-the-moment opinions and this moment in life in general gave him pause, however. As he began to replay those words over and over and over again, biker, banker, bum, biker, banker, bum, he realized that he had quote-unquote used his own observation to discern what these people were like, to even label them. It was at that moment, as he just began to go around and round and round with that thought, he was stricken in his heart. I got really caught by the first tagline of the story and everything that he began to talk about with the biker. I enjoy riding motorcycles myself, and to be honest with you, I've never considered myself a biker. I don't have the if you will, long greasy hair and all of the different things that go along with it, the offensive tattoos and and all of these things that we think of when we think biker. But that was the point. You can't judge a book by its cover. We look at somebody, maybe even people around us, close to us, on a regular basis, and immediately we form an opinion because we see things that fits what we believe or that fit what we think is the norm or the cliche, and because they maybe have offensive tattoos, oh, well, they must be a biker, or they must be, and we give them a title and we give them a label. But speaking of a man who was blind and healed by God, and this is the King James Version, Mark chapter 8, verse 25, says, after that he put his hands again upon his eyes and made him look up, and he was restored and saw every man clearly. The New King James Version says, and he was restored and saw everyone clearly. I like to believe in that moment that if somehow, some way, we had that type of an encounter with God, he could lay his hands upon us and open our eyes so that you and I can also see everyone clearly. The choices that a person have made in their life, even in the past, do not necessarily define who they are in the present, and certainly have no bearing upon who they are going to be in the future. And I can only say that even from my own personal standpoint, I am so grateful and so thankful that at times in my life when maybe I was making some of the choices and decisions that weren't best, that somebody didn't look at me and label him or label me and say, he is just, and then call me whatever they thought I was going to be. Now, I'm sure that there were some people who did, but I'm also grateful that there were some people who did not. But instead, they gave me the chance, and they gave you the chance. They gave all of us a chance and an opportunity and said, you know what, they could be something for God. They may have looked at a biker and said, you know what, we see somebody who could be a preacher. They may have looked at the banker and thought, hey, there's somebody that could be a soul winner. They may have looked at what the world would have said was a bum. And they could have said, you know what? There is a man or woman of God. I hope and I pray that as Christians, as children of God, that we have the ability to not just look at things more objectively, but to be able to look at things through God's eyes. We see the hair, we see the suit, we see the unshowered body, if you will, and we immediately begin labeling people and seeing them as what we believe they are. We're looking with man's eyes. But I hope and pray that when God touches us, when God ministers to us and lays his hands upon us, that we're able to see through God's eyes, allowing us the opportunity to maybe truly see somebody not only in need, but somebody who God can use and do something great and wonderful with. And so it's my challenge, it's my desire, it's what I hope will happen in your life, and that God will reveal himself in all that he does through your life and through the things that he wants to do in your life and through you, but also to reach other people. Because remember, the fact is, if we're looking at other people, people are also looking back at us. And when they look back at us, what are they saying about us? Are they looking at us the way that we're dressed? Are they looking at us the way that we carry ourselves? And are they saying, there goes a child of God? Are they saying, there goes somebody with their head up in the clouds, somebody who maybe is a snob, or somebody who's compassionate and caring? What are they saying about you and I? Let's not judge a book by its cover too quickly. Let's look at the book, and let's do so through God's eyes and see just what kind of priceless value there really is to every person that we come in contact with. So whether they be a biker, a banker, or a bum, know this: they're all God's children, just as you and I are. And we can't wait and look forward to seeing each and every one of you soon. And God has been blessing and doing such wonderful things in Sunday service that there is a great expectation for what is to come. So we hope you'll join us and that you'll be with us, and we look forward to it. We love you, and we're praying for you. God bless. Bye-bye.